Good morning, everyone. I think I'm here. I'm 2 minutes late. I'm 2 minutes late. Let's see if we can get it running this morning. It's a beautiful morning here in this beautiful mountain valley that I have, and I love it. We have a little bit of snow up on the mountains on the very tops, but not any in the valley yet. We've had a little bit of wind this morning, so that's going to take all those leaves down that we now have to get all raked up and put away. But it's probably going to be in the 50s today. That is amazing for November, because it is November. I love November. Okay, let's see if we can get this to come up. Okay, cooperate with me, please. Please. It's not here yet. So I don't know if you're here. Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Take a deep breath. I know. And I'm sure that you all brushed your teeth with your left hand or your non-dominant hand this morning, right? I'm sure you did, because I didn't. I brushed my teeth, but I was in a hurry, so I used my right hand. But they're clean. They're shiny. They're white. Okay, hang on a second. Come on, girl. We might have cooperation this morning. I don't know. I don't know. Come on. Let's see if we can. Oh my heck. It just populated. It takes time. I don't know why. It just takes time. And I can see, yeah, you're here. You're here. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Let's see. We have Linda. Linda, you were first on this morning, I think. First to say something. And do I need to put my boo sign away? We just had Halloween, but that isn't year-round sign. You just have to say something. You just have to talk, right? This is supposed to be a two-way thing. I'm not going to do a monologue this morning. All right, so Linda says hi. Janet says hi, I'm here. And Janet says, I think yes, because you can hear me. I think I pushed all the right buttons this morning. And Sheila said, good afternoon from Georgia. I can see you and hear you fine. Linda says, I can see you and hear you. Janet says, why are we brushing with our left hand? It's because it is supposed to activate both sides of your brain. That's it. We're just trying to, I've got another challenge for you today, and you're going to find out in a minute. But we're just trying to be the best that we can be, right? And use our whole body. I think that's important. Dolores says, you're late. You're late. I was 2 minutes late this morning. Okay, come on. And Mindy is in sunny and beautiful Whispering Pines. I'm actually home today. Well, good, Mindy. And it is, if you're having a beautiful morning and I am, who's getting crappy weather? How about that hurricane? I think it's gone past, left a lot of destruction in its path, but it's gone, I think. It's clear out in the ocean now. Okay. All right, so I don't know if I'm frozen. To me, I'm frozen. So Janet says she's been trying to do it, and I want to say trying, and I know how hard that is but you need to, it's not that we have to brush our teeth all the time with our other hand, but it's just good to spark up the other side and let them talk to each other in your brain, because we are creative people, and that's what we want to do, is we want to make things. Even when I was a little girl, I was making things out of mud in the backyard, right? We lived on a farm, and there was actually behind the barn, yeah, we had barns, we had outhouses, but we had outbuildings too. In fact, the very first post office in my little town was on our property, and it was nothing more. It looked like an outhouse size. It wasn't big, but that's where all the post from the area would come to. And so I think my great-grandpa might have been the postman or something. I don't know why it was there. But the house that I grew up in sits on the same plot. In fact, it sits just in front of where my great-grandpa's house was. And we lived in my great-grandpa's house when we first moved there. I was probably born not in that house, but we were in that house when I was born. And then they built a new house in front of that house, and that house has been there forever. Our house has been there forever. But then they took that house and they moved it, but they didn't take it apart. They just, I don't know how they moved it because it was 3 rooms. That's all it was, 3 rooms. And I remember it because one part of the room's a kitchen room, and it was, tall, big. They had moved it behind the barn. So when I was a little girl, I'd go out there and play in the kitchen of the old house I lived in. But we only stayed there till I was like 3. And by that time, they had the new house built. Oh, that's a lot to get into for that. And I'm not sure why I was going there. Okay, Dottie says, good morning from New Mexico. I have only driven through New Mexico. I need to go there. And Debbie is in Kansas City, and Sandra is from St. Louis. I love St. Louis. I don't know where I was going there with my barn house. Oh, Bertie, you voted. Yay. Good for you. Good for you. We did our mail-in votes, and so we're done. But they said the voter turnout is not very good today, and it needs to be high. We have a lot of issues in my personal small town here that need to be voted on, and they need to get out and vote. That's how I feel. Oh, Dolores says they moved their house like that too. Well, it stood there for a lot of years, and I loved it when I was growing up. I think they didn't move it out. I didn't even know where they moved it. All of a sudden it was gone. But it sat behind the barn, and it was just a fun place to play in. I loved it. And now it's gone. I don't know what they did with it. In fact, this will makes me sad. But the barn that has been there forever, my dad helped build it when he was a young man. They have now started tearing it down because it's falling apart. The roof was caving in, but it was one of those big red barns, with a big loft in the top. We'd play in that loft. That was more fun than ever. And we'd jump into the hay, and we'd have to get the hay elevators to take the hay up there. And I was always involved in hauling hay and milking cows and moving pipe. And moving pipe was fun in those days. We didn't have those ones that are on they have a name for them now. That has been since I left, so I don't know. Anyway, loved growing up on the farm, play in the ditch, in the trough where the cows and the horses would drink. We'd play in that water. I mean, we had rodeos in the fall just for fun. We'd ride the sheep, we'd ride the calves. It was fun. All right, enough about that. Excuse me. All right, so here's my new challenge for you. Now, we brushed with the non-dominant hand. This one doesn't take another hand. And it sounds really easy. And for some of you, it may really be easy. For me, it was not. I thought it would be easy because this is something you grow up doing. But I guess I haven't done it in a long time. And I found it really difficult. Now, I love music. And by music, I mean rock and roll, 60s. I love the old music, the oldies. That's my station. And I have music playing all of the time. My kids are well versed in Creedence Clearwater and all of the great songs from Neil Diamond and all those guys. Queen, they're well versed in all of those songs. And one of the songs will come on the radio, and I say, "Who's singing that one?" And my grandkids don't know them as well, so their pat answer is the Mamas and the Papas. Well, it's not. Not every song is by the Mamas and the Papas, or the Bee Gees. They'll say, "Oh, that must be the Bee Gees." No, it's not. Just listen. Ask Janis Joplin. I mean, I sing all the time. I sing along with the radio. I sing along in my house. And I always have a song running through my head. In fact, I'll always say to my husband, what song's in your head? And he'll say, "Nothing." I'll say, "Well, here's what I'm singing." And it doesn't even have to be on the radio. In fact, when I drive with my husband or with anybody else in the car, I have my radio turned down. I don't have it off. I have it down, so the sound is not on. But the little indicator will tell me what song's playing, because you have that little screen that tells you that. And so in my head, I start singing that song. It's not on. They can't hear it, but I'm singing it. And I love it. I love to have music playing all the time. They say it sparks creativity within you. And so there are times when I turn it off, when I have to think really hard, and I'm trying to do something very precise, then I really have to have the music off. They say if you listen to Mozart and Beethoven, those kind of songs help you think in those deep thoughts. But when I'm just doing deep, precise thinking, I have to have it off. All right. Sheila says, you're speaking to my heart with the music. I tell you, I love it. Okay, so this one is music related. Are you ready for it? This is your challenge this week. Before we get into our demo, this is your challenge this week. Let's see what you can do with it. It's hard. Please, I hope you guys think it's hard, because I thought it was really hard. Janice says, I turn my music on while I'm sewing. That's what I do. So, Dolores, you don't listen to music because it drives you crazy? Sometimes it's that way, isn't it? Sometimes we can't listen. Dolores says, I like country and the oldies. I like some country. I'm not a big country fan. I like some country. Like Chris Christopherson, you'd call him country, right? Love him. Love everything he sings. He's wonderful. But per se country, nah, I'm not really into it. We went to Nashville and had nothing for us because we didn't know any of the names, didn't know any of the people, and the music really didn't speak to us that much. But we enjoyed the city. It was fun. Oh, Janice says, I miss having a piano. I have a piano. I can play one song. I took lessons for 7 years. 7 years. I can play one song. And it's a children's song. It's called, this is the song I can play, Little Lamb So White and Fair. So when I sit at the piano, I can play Little Lamb So White and Fair, both hands and everything. But other than that, I can read music. I just can't play it well. But I do have a piano. And Dolores says she loves the old country music. That sounds fun. We went through the Music Hall of Fame there. It was so interesting. I loved it, but I really didn't know any of the people that were listed there. New ones, old ones, I really didn't know any of them because I was a 60s girl, and that's where I sit. Okay, so here's my challenge. I'm going to finally get to it. Are you ready? Okay. I want a drum roll because I thought this would be so easy. When I read about it, I thought, oh yeah, that's easy. I can do that. I can't do it. And it's humming for 5 to 10 minutes every day. I know you're thinking, well, that's kind of dumb. Of course you can hum. It's not that easy. It is not that easy. Humming. No, I'm not even going to try it right here. All right, if you hum for 5 to 10 minutes every single day, so that's your challenge this week. You don't have to do it twice a day like brushing your teeth, but for one time a day, hum for 5 to 10 minutes. And that will reduce your stress, improve your focus and your concentration, and increase your creativity. So what I need to do, instead of having that song run through my head, I need to hum it. Well, I tried the other day. I can't do it. It's not easy. Tell me, does anybody else have that hard? I mean, tell me it's hard for you. Try it right now. I mean, I can't hear you. Try it. Oh, Dolores says, I have ringing of the ears, no humming here. Ooh, I didn't know that was a problem with that. Okay, Dolores, you're not going to be humming this week, right? I've been in quilt retreats and quilt events and things where people are humming. And I'm thinking, how do you do that? Does that help? They don't even know they're humming, and they're humming. And I guess that's where it has to get to, right? Okay, Janet said she'll try. Okay, I want to hear how it goes. We're going to talk about it next week, and maybe I'll have a different challenge. Oh, Dolores, I'm sorry that you ringing in your ears makes it so you can't hum. My husband doesn't hum. I can't think of anybody in my family who hums. In fact, my granddaughter got a, what are those things that you blow through? Linda says, should be easy, right? Should be easy. That thing you kind of have to, that little musical thing you have to kind of hum into. She couldn't do it. She couldn't make a sound out of it. She just blows and it doesn't make a sound. I think, what is that thing called? That's a kid's toy. Come on, somebody help me. I know that you know what it is. Somebody help me. What's it called? A kazoo. Yes, Janice, thank you. It's a kazoo. Well, she couldn't make it work. And I says, well, you have to hum into it. And she said, I don't know how to hum. Okay. You guys are so good. Patty, you got it. Karen, you got it. It's a kazoo. Sheila says, I always have a song in my head, so I'll try turning it into humming. And Linda, jazzy. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try to do too. But I'm going to have to do it when nobody's around because the sound I make is probably not the sound that I wish I could make. Oh, crazy, crazy. All right. Are you going to try? I'm going to try. I forgot this morning because I was going to do it this morning. I didn't do it. All right, but I'm going to try. Okay, I need to reduce my stress. So I'm going to hum today. Yes, I'm going to do it. All right, so I want to talk today. We had more questions, and someone asked me to go into a deeper dive on the StitchSync Regulator. So I'm going to be doing a dive today. And this is what it is. And this fits on the Radiance and our new Anthem. And you know, the Anthem name is the hardest one for me to remember. I always want to say applaud because I've been working on the applaud for a year. But the Anthem is new to me. I've only had it, maybe a month. And I'm learning lots of things. And it does some amazing stuff. But it has this. It has this StitchSync Regulator. So if you have this machine, if you want to know more about it, if you have the Radiance and you haven't tried this yet, we're going to be talking about it today. This one is a plug in the back foot. Now, the only time the foot or the machine can recognize what foot you have on is if it plugs in the back. Otherwise, it doesn't know what you have on. I mean, you could put anything on there and it's not going to know. But when you plug it in the back, then it recognizes the foot and it can do it. All right. Oh, we have plenty of people that are going to try. Thank you. Okay, we're going to be humming. And maybe if you figure out some easy ways to learn how to, and I know we have to learn how to hum. We hummed in grade school. I mean, you have to sing songs and they say, well, hum the next verse. Or, I could do it then. It should be easy. No, it's not. It's not easy. Okay, we're going to go to the machine and please make comments. Please ask questions because if you have a question, then somebody else has a question too. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to get my screwdriver out. And I'm going to be reaching in front of you for a minute because I'm going to take this foot off. I want to have focus on the screen for just a minute. But the machine will not recognize what I have on until I get it plugged in. So this is going to be a little bit of a stretch over here. I want to thank everybody who commented on my post on my personal page yesterday, because I was pretty excited about it. And so many of you commented and read it and whatever. But boy, I got something in my throat. Hang on. Excuse me. But a paper out of Salt Lake did an article on my boys. And my boys are filmmakers. They work out of Salt Lake. Okay, there it goes. And they did an article on them, and I was really pleased with the article. And I just posted it, and I was so happy with it. I love my boys. And they are the ones who set up my studio here, who gave me the cameras. They didn't give them to me. And my lights, they set up my lights. And so if ever there's a problem with what I have going on here, it's user error, because they gave me a great setup. I just don't always push the right buttons. So that's my fault. My fault totally. Okay, now right here, you saw the one I plugged. Let me unplug it. It takes it off. It does not know I have it on. It thinks that I should have the J foot on. And notice right up there, telling me the J foot, if I go down to here, is saying put your G foot on. If I go to a zigzag, it will say the J. Let me see what else I've got in here. If I go to a heavier stitch, it'll tell me to put my N foot on. Now, you know why an N foot needs to go on when you're doing those heavier back and forth stitches? That's because there's a lot of thread going under the foot. If you have your J foot on, the J foot is pretty flat under there because you want to have those feed dogs intact with your foot. That's slick too. It wants to slide out of my hand. You want to have all the contact you can have with those feed dogs. So if you're doing a 1/4 inch stitch, you want a perfect 1/4 inch stitch. You don't want that fabric moving around, right? Well, when you have stitches like this, sometimes the fabric needs to move around a little bit. The needle's going to be moving around. It needs to have more availability to move. And the end foot will give that permission to do that. That's why you need to have the end foot on. And also there's so much thread going underneath that the J foot, it might get stuck under there. Or, I mean, you wouldn't even know that it was getting stuck, but possibly it's just got a little hesitation with the foot because this foot is going flat on your threads. The end foot allows it to go underneath. So there's a little channel under the end foot. But in the same token, if you're trying to get a perfect straight stitch, you don't want to use the end foot. If you don't have like an inch to go, I mean, go ahead and leave it on. But if you're trying to get a 1/4 inch stitch, a perfect seam, then you're not going to get it with the end foot. You may luck out, and if you're a great seamstress, then you might do just fine. But for the most part, you've got to take that foot off and put a foot on that's going to have more contact with those feed dogs that can allow that fabric to stay put. Now I'm trying to do this blindly. There I go. I did it. I'm a good blind person. All right, so this is telling me right over here. Let me move you over here a little bit. And I know that you're not going to be able to read everything that I'm trying to show you. I got to get the glare out of it. You're not going to be able to read my screen, but definitely you look at your machine and you'll be able to read a lot. It's going to say you can start free motion quilting and basting with the stitch regulator because it now recognizes that that foot is on. If you have your digital dual feed, it also has a plug in the back, and it will say you've got your digital dual feed on. It knows what foot you have on if you plug it in the back. So that plug is totally geared to this foot. Be careful not to pull the fabric tightly, causing to break the needle. We don't want to break any needles. Okay, I'm going to say okay. See the happy face there? I'm good. Now it brings up this screen. The only time you're going to see this screen is if you have that foot plugged in. If that screen is hidden in the machine, the only time it's going to come forward is when you have that foot on. Otherwise, you can't find it. You could look and look, but you'll never find it. All right, so here's what I have here. This is going to have some good information for me. I don't need to select anything. It'll let me select in a minute. Right here, mode number 1. So right here, it'll tell you right here. Step 1, select a mode. Step 2, select a stitch. And when you're in basting, which is number 3, you'll automatically be selecting in mode number 3. It'll automatically do it. Step 3, please start sewing. Okay, and notice down here that I have the box, the black box around the height of my foot. If I move this around, it's going to change what happens. I kind of want to leave it right there. All right, so it'll even let me use the guide beam if I want, and I don't. So I'm going to select number 1. This one is my intermittent mode. Intermittent, like if you have intermittent showers, that means they're going to shower here, shower there, just not constant. That means that your stitch is not going to be continually sewing, as in when I stop my hands. This is one where if I want to, I'm going to put some fabric under there. This means that I know, Janie, the screen is kind of blurry from where you are. It's not, and I can't get it any different because it's so far away. Does that make it a little better? I mean, for me, it's not blurry because I'm looking at the screen, but I don't see it blurry. But this is telling me right now that there's no movement. When there's no movement of the cloth, it's not going to stitch. That means it's intermittent. So when I stop my hands, it will stop sewing. And that's kind of the place that I stay in. That's my go-to part. But it'll tell you right here. So if you're confused about where you are, just read the screen. When there's no movement of the cloth, the needle stops at the top and the needle drops after moving a specific length. Be careful not to put your hand under the needle. They have that warning constantly. Be careful, don't put your hand under the needle. Have you ever sewn your finger? I have. I still have a defect in my fingernail. I can't grow this fingernail long because I did. I punctured right down through there, and now I have, my fingernail won't form correctly. So it's got a little, anyway, so I've done it. I hate it. And I'm sure that lots of you have done it too. All right, it gives you an option of a straight stitch middle selection or a zigzag. And the only time, as I understand, because I don't do thread painting, but it might be something that I want to get into sometime because it looks fun. Then they say that in a zigzag stitch, you're going to do a lot more thread will go down. So like thread painting would be a good thing right there. But I'm going to stay in my straight stitch, and that's where I'm going to stitch at. And it gives me an opportunity to move my needle around if I want to. I don't need to because I'm going to be moving my hands around. I can change my stitch length. If I want my stitches to be tinier, this will allow me to do that. I don't need to mess with the left-right shift or the tension. And even though these are open, I could use them. I'm not going to because this is free motion quilting. And I'm going to go to, let me turn that off. I've never done that before. Oh, okay. I don't know why I'd want to do that. If I wanted to do some free motion quilting, maybe without it. And we're going to do some comparisons too, by the way. And now I'm going to go into mode 2. This one is continuous. That means that my needle never stops. Once I step on the gas and let go, it's going to be continuous. When there is no movement of the cloth, the needle drops slowly in the same position for lock stitches or for shorter stitch length than specified, such as the corners of a pattern. If you're doing a star and you need to go up to the point, then that will allow you to stitch in place at the point. Sometimes when I'm doing a star, if I'm not aware that I'm at the point and I'm aware that I need to take a few extra stitches right there when I'm in number 1, then I could like skip over the point. Just because I just skipped over it. I don't have a nice, beautiful point. So if you need to have very precise stitching, then you need to use this one. So it will continually, and you'll see in a minute because I'm going to do some of that for you. And then when you go into, and notice I still have those 2 choices. My hand there makes it so it goes non-focused. I still have a lot of the other things in there already. Okay, I'm going to go to number 3. When using basting stitches, do not use the stitch regulator open toe foot, otherwise the needle may break and cause injuries. And I believe that's because it can get caught on the fabric as you're going across. But I love my open toe foot. I kind of leave it on. Now it's gone blurry again. I don't know why. It's user error. It's certainly not my cameras, I'll tell you. All right, so I'm going to go back to number 1. And now that we've talked about what's on the screen, we're not going to work at the screen anymore. I'm going to move my machine around. And when I am doing free motion quilting, I am usually going to have my extension table on because I want to have as much surface there to move this around with as I can. And with this smaller, I just have my tray on today because the extension table doesn't work here with all the setup. So I'm going to be really just working with this little part here. I want to have all of that movement because this has 11.25, I think, onto the right of my needle. And when my extension table is on, I've got 12 more inches out here. And I believe it's 16 from here to here. I've got a lot of room that I can work with. And I need all that room. I want all that room. Even if I am not needing this space out here, it's going to help hold the weight of the fabric that I'm trying to move. Because if I'm doing this, I am probably working with something that has a lot of weight on it. And having that right there will make it so it kind of supports that weight. All right, so here I go. I've got my foot plugged in, and maybe you would rather use this button. That's okay. I kind of don't. I like to use my feet at the same time. Now if I start humming, you'll forgive me, right? Okay, this is going to go in and out of focus a little bit. When my hand gets up here, it'll try to focus to my hand because it's autofocus, so I apologize for that. One thing I do want to point out, and I will take the foot back off and show you, but right under there, there's a little sensor. So we have the sensor beam, we have the, in fact, let me stick it on there. You can see that it's popping up right there. So this machine has a lot of sensors in it. There's a little sensor on the back of the foot right here. And that's one of the reasons it's this size, because there's things in there that make it work. So if I were trying to sew right at the edge of the fabric like this, it can't tell that there's fabric under there. It's not going to sew. So that's another thing to watch for. You need to make sure the foot is in the fabric. The fabric is under that foot all the way, or it will not recognize the fabric. Okay, so if I needed to sew clear back there, I would stop. I would turn my fabric around and then sew that part so that the foot was over fabric. Okay, but we don't have to worry about that right now. In fact, maybe I'll show you how that works. All right, so I've picked all right, it's time. I put my foot down and I'm going to start sewing. I've got my foot is down on the gas. There's not a thing happening, and it's blinking right here. It's telling me it's ready to go. Yeah, and now over here it's telling me, I'm going to tell you that in a minute, it's ready to go, but I didn't do anything. Because I didn't do anything, it thinks that I have stopped, and it doesn't want to sit there and wait for me. So over here on the screen it says sewing status was canceled because there was no cloth feeding operation for several seconds. So I'm going to put my foot, okay, I'm going to say okay, I'm going to put my foot back down. And now I'm going to step on my gas. Now I want you to see right there, oh, it's not even picking up my bobbin. Let me make sure I have my bobbin threaded properly under there. And a lot of times when you're doing free motion quilting, you're going to pull your bobbin up. I did not pull it up, and I am not going to pull it up for this. I want to mention another thing. Okay, so when you are threading your bobbin, you're putting it in, you've got to make sure that it goes under this middle piece, up and around the plastic piece to the thread cutter. If you don't, we do this so quickly, we kind of do it in our sleep, right? We just put that bobbin in, we go under there and up. Sometimes if you don't get it underneath this part, the metal part, you will have an ugly stitch. It just will not work. And you'll say, well, I know I've got my bobbin in there right. And you'll look and you'll see, yeah, but I had it in there right. But if it doesn't go under that metal part and around and cut off, then it's not in there right, and you'll get an ugly stitch. Okay, Dolores wants to know the name of the foot. This is the StitchSync Regulator. It only fits on certain machines. It has to have the machine has to have the ability to use it, which the Anthem and the Regalia, Anthem and the Radiance. There's too many names, right? Boy, I must have caught a frog in my throat last night. Okay, this is called the StitchSync Regulator, and it comes with your machine. All right, so I'm going to put my foot down, and we're going to see if I've got that threaded right down there. I got my foot on the gas. Come on, I'm going to go faster. Okay, now notice when I have my hands go slow, the needle goes slow. When I move it fast, look what happens. Now, I don't know if you heard that dinging over here. That dinging was telling me I'm going too fast for this stitch. That means I'm going to have some eyelashes or whiskers or something on there. I don't want that. So you've got to kind of listen with your ears over here while you're moving your hand. And the reason it's called the StitchSync Regulator is it is regulating my stitch so that it will all be the same. All those stitches are going to be the same length. So it looks like you've done it on a long arm. It's really nice. And we're going to do some free motion quilting in a minute, and you can see the difference there. Okay, I'm now going to go to mode number 2, and mode number 2 is where it's going to continually move up and down. So see, here's the difference. I am not moving my fabric, and the needle's going up and down. But then when I move my hands, so you can see I could do a star point. So there's the point of a star, and you can see that I did really well on that. It did not lose my point. So now I'm going to go back to mode number 2, mode number 1. I'm going to do some points, and you can see the difference. I'm going too fast, it's not happy. but I wanted to go fast because I wanted you to see. And these aren't too bad. That's not too bad. But I can definitely see that those points are better than these points because it's stitched right in the point. Okay, now I'm going to go to mode number 3. And if you remember, mode number 3 is the basting stitch. And you're going to think, if you're doing this, that you're not doing a thing. All right, so I'm going to step on the gas. It's not doing anything. In fact, it's not even picking up my bobbin right now. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not picking up the bobbin. Let's see if it has fallen out of that. Come on, girl. It doesn't even want to move right now. I'm going to pull that up. All right, so I'm now going to switch to just my free motion foot. And we're going to see the difference in here and what you can do with it. So you saw in that basting stitch how you just feel like you're not doing anything. That's because you're really not. You're only stitching. Okay, I'm going to turn you off, turn you back on. It was a little stuck there, so I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on. Whenever I have a computer problem and I call my boys and I say, oh, I can't get it to do this, my computer won't do this, and they say, well, did you turn it off and turn it on? And I'll say, oh, that's right. That's what I have to do. Okay, now it's telling me over here I've taken my StitchSync Regulator foot off. It is telling me that. And I'm going to put on my free motion foot. And remember, I think last week we talked about the free motion foot compared to the quilting foot. You got to look careful. They look a lot the same. They are not the same. Okay, come on, foot. Get on there. It's not wanting to. I find that you just have to read what is on the screen because it's telling you everything you need to know. Okay. Are y'all humming? Hum for me, please. I need to be more creative today because that's how you're going to be more creative is hum, 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 hum. All right, so now this was my regular with my stitch regulator, but now I'm going to just do some free motion quilting and you can see the difference there. Let's make sure that everything is right. I think it wasn't picking up my bobbin and it should pick it up, so let's see what happens. All right. Now this is where on my screen I'm going to go back to the screen for a minute because I want to make sure, and this is true for a lot of different baby lock machines. It's this little, and you're just going to be in a different spot. If you've got a crescendo, if you've got a ballad, if you've got a chorus, it might be in a different spot, even on a soprano. But look for this little guy right here. Nicely enough on the Anthem, I've got it right up here. All I have to do is that. Notice it dropped my feed dogs, maybe you heard that, and it's telling me to put on my free motion foot. And I have my open toe free motion foot. That's what I like to use. I can do it with a zigzag again, just like I could in the others. And even though it allows me to choose all these other stitches, they won't do me any good because free motion is simply moving my hands around. It is not, the machine's not going to do anything but sew up and down. So let me move you back. I've got it in free motion. And when you are in free motion and you go out of it and you want to do a regular stitch, you have to remember that you now need to take it out of free motion or else it will stay there because it will let you continue to stitch. Okay, but see, I still have the movement down here because it allows me to have that movement. A free motion drops the feed dogs and raises the foot just a little bit so that you can. Let's see if I can. Okay, come on, girl. Okay, now see, and if I went fast, I am not regulated in my stitch. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do some of those star points like I did before. And you will see, and it's not going to ding at me when I go too fast because it doesn't know where I'm at. Now all I'm doing is I want to get you some points, and I want you to see that if I were going really fast, I'm going to take that over there and let you see it a little closer under the camera on that other side. But right there, if I go really fast, I'm going to get way big stitches. So that's why the StitchSync Regulator is so nice, because when you go fast, it's going to change the length of your stitch. If you go slower, it's going to change the length of your stitch there too. So right here, I got my foot down on the gas, and see how close those stitches are going to be, because I am barely moving my hands. And then if I go fast, I've got really big stitches. The important thing is to keep your hands like this. Now you should wear gloves. I don't have gloves on today, but that would protect your fingers and help you move the fabric. I don't have a gripping problem with this fabric today, but that will help you hang on to that fabric and move it around. You're going to want to move it in this way. If you moved it like this, well, let me just do that. If I'm going to make a circle and I want to, now normally you'd go in a circle and you think, okay, let's move that fabric around. But do you see what's happening? My stitch is staying in the same place. If I want to make a circle, then I've got to create a circle like this. So I got to move my hands in a circle. It's a fun thing to do. If you've never done free motion quilting, it's a fun thing to do. Let's go over here and let's see the difference in these stitches. All right, so let me bring the camera down as far as it will come, which is not that far. So you can see right here, this one was in the mode number 2, where it continually stitched up and down. You can see it, my points are really better right there. And I had good coverage on those. My stitch never wavered. Over here, this was where I was doing it in the first mode, where it was not doing a continuous stitch. And it's not, my points are not as good. Over here, this is going to be harder to see, but I have a rounded point there, I have a rounded point there, and that's what you're going to get when you don't have that continuous stitch. Now, let me see if I can, right here, you can see how loose those stitches are, right here. This is where I was doing free motion by hand, and those stitches are really far apart because I was moving my hands way too fast. You see how that is? When it's right up here, you cannot get the point underneath any of those stitches. But right here, I was going way too fast. So that's what the StitchSync Regulator does for you. It keeps that stitch nice and even as it goes around. And then down here, I think I went pretty fast here. I've got some loopy stitches. That is what you get when you free motion quilt by hand. And you can almost see the eyelash effect that you get right here, because I was moving way too fast. Remember, I told you I was going to go fast right there. You can see those are really loose. So if you're going to free motion by hand, which I love to do, you just have to get used to and get yourself in a, you're just going to have to feel it through. Your foot has to go faster than your hands. So your foot's going to go in pretty fast, and your hands, your movement will be in sync to it, but your hand will be going slower than your foot. So your foot has to go fast. You'll notice up here that the stitches go pretty darn fast when you're doing in mode 1 and mode 2 with the stitch regulator foot. And I was going to show you the, I don't know what I did with the foot. Oh, there it is. Underneath that foot, there is a little sensor right there that if you start sewing, so if I were trying to sew, let me put this right here, like right there on the edge, it won't do it because the sensor is right there and it doesn't sense any fabric underneath. So you need to make sure that you've got that foot on top of the fabric. All right, are there any questions? Do you have any questions that I can help you with? If you have one of these machines, you're a lucky lady. I really want to tell you that because they are fun to use. And this will be on the Radiance and the Anthem with the StitchSync Regulator. That's kind of a mouthful to say, but it's a StitchSync Regulator. But it regulates your stitch as you sew. So you can do free motion without it. So if you've ever wanted to do free motion and you were afraid to do it, this is a great thing to try because it kind of makes it worry-free, mistake-free, because if you, all you have to do is guide your fabric. You don't have to worry about how fast you're going, because this regulates your stitches. If you're doing it just with your regular free motion foot, then it's not regulating your stitch for you. You have to regulate your stitch by moving your hands in comparison to your foot. That's how that is done. All right, let me show you some projects that I just finished using. And now last week we talked about the tapering stitches and the StitchSync Regulator. See, that is a mouthful to me. And here's a project that I did, and now this is where I did the free motion right there with the StitchSync Regulator. This is Doodle Applique, and you guys all know that I love Doodle Applique. I really love it because I can just doodle with it. And I went around these circles. It gives it kind of a country look, but this is what it's supposed to look like. So I went around, these are trees, in case you didn't know, these are trees. This is my magical forest. And right here I've done the StitchSync Regulator. So if you are wanting to learn how to free motion quilt and you really want to do it, this is kind of like training wheels. It helps you learn how to move your hands and learn how to step on the gas at the right moment and everything. It just helps you learn. And there might come a point where you don't want to use the regulation foot anymore. That's okay. Just take it off and just use the free motion foot. It all works. Whichever way works for you, it works. I want you to see that I have incorporated some decorative stitches in here. This is one part of a decorative stitch. Do you remember? I think we talked about it last week, where when you have a decorative stitch, you can just choose one part of it. This is just one part of a decorative stitch, and there's just one. It only stitches one because I told it I only want one, so I didn't have to like stop and start and thinking, oh, did I get that right? It just stitches one leaf. But then you'll look down here, I used a whole decorative stitch and ended with a leaf. So to me that looks like a flower growing up. I kind of liked it. Then right here I used one part of the decorative stitch. Over here I used one part of the decorative stitch. This is a tapering stitch. Here is a tapering stitch. And even down here at the bottom, you can't, these are just beautiful stitches, period. Even if you don't want to taper the top and the bottom, it's a beautiful stitch. There I have simulated the ground with the tapering stitch, and then I got little grasses up in here. And this was just really a fun project to do. If you watched the broadcast on Saturday, this is one that I presented there. Okay, do we have any questions? We have gone on for a long time, and I know you have a zillion things to do today, right? Do you have any questions on it? Dolores says, that was great information and I had no clue. Well, thank you. I hope that you learned something about it. And so that is really, this is a game changer in a lot of people's books, because who would have thought you could regulate your stitch? And I can take it on and off. I don't have to keep it on. I know there's some machines out there that you have to have it on all the time. And so you're always kind of working around it. This is not. And it's nice, compact. You just stick it on there. So fun, so easy to use. And this is a great introduction into free motion quilting. If you don't have a long arm, this is a lot cheaper to go this direction than buying a long arm. And maybe you don't have the space for a long arm, but you still want to free motion your quilts and your projects. This is a great way to do it with that StitchSync Regulator foot. But know that this does not fit on all machines. It has to be inside the machine also. So the workings of the machine has to be able to read and understand what this does. So you're limited to the Anthem and the Radiance. That we have a Regalia that is a long arm machine. So Radiance and Regalia, I'm thinking, okay, which one am I talking about now? I don't know. All right, are there any questions? And if you watch this later, if you ask a question, I'll still answer it for you, okay? And what are we going to do this week? We are going to hum. I want you guys to be more creative. I mean, I want those creative juices to flow and just really be excited about it. In fact, I like to read a lot of brainy stuff about brains. I mean, I've told you that before. In fact, has anybody watched Magic for Humans? I think it was on Netflix for a while. I don't know where it is now because I haven't watched it because it's not on Netflix anymore. Magic for Humans. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think his name is Jason Willimore or something. Amazing. If you've never watched Magic for Humans, Google it, find it, go to YouTube, whatever you have to do. It is amazing, the things that he can do, trick you into doing. I don't know. I love it. I love it. And I almost feel like humming. Are we tricking our brains into doing certain things? We kind of are. And when we brush with our other hand, are we tricking our brain a little bit? We kind of are, because we're trying to get the cobwebs out of that other side of our brain and get it to function, get it to work, right? That's what I think. And I love things like that. All right, so hum your way through the day today, and you'll feel better. And it's almost, and I'm not going to challenge you to whistle because I can't whistle. I can whistle for the dog or the horses, but I can't whistle a tune. I'm really jealous when some people can because it's pretty cool, but I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay, hum, hum, hum. I'm going to go hum and get creative now. So don't we want to be creative? Isn't that the whole point of our life, is to be creative? Don't you feel like that's why you're here, is to be creative? That's why we sew these projects. That's why we make a quilt. That's why we make dinner. We want to be creative, right? So you are a creative and you're going to do it, right? Yes, I think you can. All right, I will see you next week, if not sooner. And I'm going to be humming all week. I'm going to see what I can do with it. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.